B and C. Today we continue with the lesson, and that is geography, and today we do a new chapter, that is atmosphere. I do hope you are revising your previous lessons. Please do study well at home, do your assignments, make sure you have done your geography project as well, and you have been given the deadline to submit your projects by 9th or latest by 10th. So please do bring them all. Bring all the projects that when you come to the school to submit, so that we can start evaluating your projects as well. So today we do a new chapter, that is atmosphere. What is atmosphere? Now, atmosphere is basically, very simple terms, the blanket of air that surrounds the Earth's surface. Atmosphere is the blanket of air that surrounds the Earth's surface. Now, the air is basically, if you see the atmosphere, it's comprised of different gases, dust particles and water vapor as well. So these are the different aspects that's there in the Earth's atmosphere. Gases, dust particles and water vapor as well. Now, the Earth's atmosphere extends to about 1600 kilometers from the Earth's surface. From the Earth's surface, the Earth's atmosphere extends to about 1600 kilometers. But then, the maximum amount of air that's found in the Earth's surface is within a range of 100 kilometers. 99% of the Earth's gases are present within a range of 100 kilometers from the Earth's surface. Within that range, 99% of the Earth's atmosphere is present. Now, the atmosphere is very, very important to all of us because of various reasons. Firstly, you see, the atmosphere is very important because it provides us oxygen. It gives us oxygen, which is so very important for our existence. It gives carbon dioxide, which is so very important for the existence of the plant life. It also helps in the weather changes that takes place within the Earth's surface. So the different weather changes that takes place there is because of the atmosphere. It maintains the temperature of the Earth. During daytime, it protects the heat, excess heat coming into the Earth's atmosphere. During night time, it prevents the heat from going outside, whereby maintaining the temperature of the Earth. See, the Earth's atmosphere is also very important because it protects us from the falling meteors. When the meteors happen to enter the Earth's atmosphere, they burn up because of the Earth's atmosphere, whereby we are saved from being bombarded by the meteors that enter into the Earth's atmosphere. Enter through the Earth's atmosphere. Now, the Earth's atmosphere is also very, very important because of the presence of ozone. The ozone layer that's there in the atmosphere protects us from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. So these are the different ways in which the Earth's atmosphere is very important to all of us. Now let us see the composition. The composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Now, what is the different aspects that's there in the Earth's atmosphere? Which are the different gases that's there present in the Earth's atmosphere? If you see number one, 78% of the Earth's atmosphere is comprised of the gas called as nitrogen. See, 78% of the Earth's atmosphere that's comprised of nitrogen. If you see point number two, 21% of the Earth's atmosphere is comprised of the gas, which is so very important to all of us, that is oxygen. And then the remaining 1% of the gas that's present there is comprised of carbon dioxide, neon, helium, hydrogen, ozone, methane, etc. So, from the 100%, 78% of the Earth's atmosphere is comprised of the gas called as nitrogen, 21% is comprised of the gas, which is so very important to all of us, that is oxygen, and the remaining 1% we have different gases like carbon dioxide, neon, helium, hydrogen, ozone, methane, see, etc. So these are the different gases that's there in the Earth's atmosphere, or the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. Now let us go a little bit further and see the structure of the Earth's atmosphere. Structure. structure. Now we know that the Earth's atmosphere is not just one thick layer. There are different aspects, there are different layers of the Earth's atmosphere depending on its density. See, different layers are there. The heavier ones are on the lower part, then the lighter ones, lighter, and so on. So depending on the density, the different layers of air are stationed, are kept, or they settle down according to the density. So the first layer of air that we have in the lowest part is the layer called as the troposphere. Troposphere. Troposphere is the lowest layer. It extends to almost around 8 kilometers to 18 kilometers from the Earth's surface. It's more in the equator and less in the poles. So the troposphere extends to about 8 kilometers from the Earth's surface to about 18 kilometers. So 8 kilometers near the poles, 18 kilometers near the equator. Now, the troposphere is very, very important to all of us because in this layer, all the weather changes takes place there. The rainfall, the lightning, the thunderstorm, the formation of clouds, the water cycle, all of these takes place in this layer, the troposphere. All the weather changes takes place in this layer. That is why the troposphere is so very important to all of us, is because all the weather changes takes place in this layer. Above the troposphere, we have a layer called as the tropopause. Tropopause. After the tropopause, we have the second layer, that is the stratosphere. The second layer, that is stratosphere. Now this stratosphere is also very, very important. It's also very important. It extends to almost about 50 kilometers from the Earth's surface. That is, from this troposphere, 50 kilometers above, we have the stratosphere. Now this stratosphere is also another very important layer in the Earth's atmosphere. The reason why it's so very important is because in the stratosphere we have what is called as the ozone layer. Ozone layer. And this ozone layer is a layer which protects us from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. Now we have been studying that the ozone layer is constantly getting depleted because of the toxic gas that's been constantly released from the Earth. And more than 50% of the ozone layer in the North Pole and South Pole have already been destroyed. So what happens when the sun's rays enter through the areas, through the Earth's atmosphere, and if there's no ozone layer at all in these regions, what happens when the sun's rays fall on the Earth's surface in the absence of the ozone layer? It causes different ailments like skin cancer, blindness to human beings, the plants will die, see, the vegetation will not grow properly. All these aspects will take place when the ozone layer is destroyed. That is why the stratosphere is so very important, because in this layer we have the ozone layer which protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. Then above the stratosphere we have a layer called stratopause. Stratopause. Above the stratopause, we have the layer called as the Mesosphere. And the Mesosphere extends to a height of almost around 80 kilometers. From the stratosphere, if we go up higher, 80 kilometers, we have this layer called as the Mesosphere. So there we have the Mesosphere, and this Mesosphere is also a very important layer. The reason why it's very important is that the Mesosphere prevents the meteors from entering into the Earth's surface. When the meteors from the space happen to enter into the Earth's atmosphere, we know that they burn because of friction. And this layer, the Mesosphere, plays a very, very important role in preventing the meteors from entering into the Earth's atmosphere. They burn up because of friction. That is why the Mesosphere is very, very important. Now above the Mesosphere, we have another layer called as the Mesopause. Mesopause. Above the Mesopause, we have a layer, the fourth layer called as the Troposphere. Which almost extends to about 480 to 400 kilometers. 80 to 480 kilometers from the lower layer, that is the Mesosphere. From the mesosphere, if you go to 80 to 480 kilometers, we have the thermosphere. Now this thermosphere is also very important because it has its own importance. Because the thermosphere has charged ion particles there in this layer. And these charged ion particles help in wireless communication. That is why it's so very important. They help in the wireless communication. They help to absorb the signal, whereby helping in the wireless communication. That is the thermosphere. Okay. Then above the thermosphere we have the last layer, that is the number 5. What is that called as? Exosphere. That is the last layer, that is the exosphere. It extends almost around 960 kilometers. From the thermosphere, if you go 960 kilometers till there, we have the last layer, that is the exosphere. And then from the exosphere, if you go further up into space, there is no air at all. This is the last layer. So these are the structure of the Earth's atmosphere. The troposphere, very important for all the weather changes. Stratosphere, very important because it has the ozone layer which protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. Mesosphere is very important because it protects the Earth from the falling meteors. Thermosphere is very important because it has charged ion particles which help in wireless communication. And then we have the last layer, that is the exosphere, where the air becomes thinner and thinner. And ultimately from the exosphere we enter into space where there is no gas at all. Okay. Now let's go and do the next aspect, that is the ozone. Ozone layer. Ozone layer. Now what is the ozone layer? The ozone layer is basically a layer of air comprised of 3 atoms of oxygen. This layer of air prevents the harmful rays of the sun to enter into the earth, whereby protecting us from different ailments, whereby protecting our vegetation from being destroyed. Therefore, this ozone layer is a very important layer which protects the earth from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. These rays are absorbed in this layer, is absorbed by the ozone layer, and therefore it's like a filtration where only pure heat and light enters into the earth's atmosphere and falls on the ground. That is why the ozone layer is so very important, because it prevents us from different ailments. It filters the sun's rays. It filters the sun's rays and absorbs the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun, and lets in only the heat and light of the earth, our sun, to enter into the earth. That is why the ozone layer is so very important. Okay. Now, what is the cause for the depletion of the ozone layer? Why is the ozone layer getting depleted? The ozone layer gets depleted mainly because of the release of toxic gases, like the CFC, chlorofluorocarbon. This is one of the major aspects for the destruction of the ozone layer. Now these gases are mainly released from the air conditioners, then we have the refrigerators, see, cleaning agents and so on. These are different aspects where these gases are released, CFCs, which are so very harmful for the depletion of the ozone layer. We also have like the pollution by air traffic. That's also another cause for the depletion of ozone layer. Radioactive substance, nitrogen. Then we have nitrogen fertilizers, air pollution. These are different ways in which the ozone layer gets destroyed, ultimately threatening the existence of life, threatening the life that's existing on the planet Earth. So that's how the ozone layer is depleted, because the use of different aspects. Because of the modernization, we use so many different gadgets, appliances, whereby these appliances and gadgets release harmful toxic gases into the air, ultimately destroying the ozone layer. Now, further now after the ozone, let's see what is a global warming. Global warming is the increase in the Earth's temperature due to the toxic gas that's constantly released in the Earth's atmosphere. See, for instance, if the sun shines, see, the sun hits the Earth, it hits the Earth, and when the heat starts to move outside in the form of terrestrial radiation, see, when the sun shines, the rays that come into the Earth is called as insolation, incoming solar radiation. And after the insolation comes, after the rays of the sun fall and heat the Earth, in the evening they start to move upwards. which is called as terrestrial radiation. But because of the excess pollution, because the high pollution that's been caused around the world, what happens is these gases that's there does not allow the heat to fully enter into space, does not allow the heat to escape into space, whereby trapping the heat and making the earth warm. That's how global warming takes place. It's like a greenhouse. If you happen to go inside a greenhouse, what happens? It's very hot compared to the outside. It's because when the sun shines, the heat of the sun is trapped inside the greenhouse. And because the heat is trapped inside the greenhouse becomes very warm. Same thing happens with the earth. When the sun shines, the sun's heat enters into the earth, but that heat which has entered the earth, which has heated the earth, is not allowed to escape into the space. It's not fully allowed to escape into space, whereby the heat is trapped within the Earth's atmosphere because of the excess pollution that's been caused there, whereby increasing the temperature of the Earth, which is called as global warming. Now, when global warming takes place, what happens? All the icebergs starts to melt, and when the iceberg starts to melt, the water level will increase, islands get submerged under the water, coastal areas get submerged under the water. See? There will be some areas where there will be complete drought. There will be some areas where the rainfall will be very, very high. Animals' habitat will change. The animals have to change their living sphere. They'll have to move to another place because of the global warming. So these are the aspects that takes place because of global warming. The effects that happens, or the effect that takes place on the earth. Whether it's in terms of the environment, whether it's in terms of the living aspects there in the earth, everything happens to change because of the global warming. The water level rises up. See, areas will become submerged under water. So all these things happen because of the global warming. And that is why it's so very important to take care of our environment. Pollution is one of the major aspects. Global warming is one of the major aspects. Because of global warming, 50% of the North Pole and South Pole ozone layer is depleted. If you see in Australia and New Zealand, 4% of the ozone layer above the regions in Australia and New Zealand have been destroyed. 3% of the ozone layer above the Indian subcontinent have been destroyed. It's all because of the global warming, excess pollution that's been caused. That is why it's so very important to take care of our environment and reduce the amount of pollution that we cause. So dear students, this is the end of the lesson. We have done a very short lesson. Selective studies have been done keeping in mind the syllabus that has been sent by the council, which has been revised so that we could complete the chapters by the end of the year. So I would like to, as far as possible, cover all the aspects by the end of the year, finish the chapters. So do study well at home and revise the lesson. Please do the assignments at the end of the chapters, dear students. Take care and have a good day. Study well. Thank you so much.